Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel. If this is your first time, this is my Christmas video. So I have my cider here and I thought I would drink some alcohol while talking about one big British Christmas tradition and have a quick mention of a German one and an Italian one. So 3 places in Europe that have a cuisine tradition that I think is quite fun and that we delve in every year. So I'm going to start off with the most recent tradition and just going to mention this fantastic cake from Italy, the Pandoro. So as you can see, the Pandoro is like a mountain shape, and that mountain is the mountain that you will see around Verona, which is where this cake comes from. And it's actually from 1844 when this recipe was first created. It's become a huge part of Italian Christmas tradition, and it's also part of our tradition in our family. So my wife is half Italian, which is probably why it's such a big part of our family. We always buy Pandoros. We've got several. We've got little ones, and we've got this big one here, which we will be dividing into the family over Christmas. But you can see them sold in lots of places, so I'm sure it's true for people who haven't got wives that are half Italian as well. So the Pandoro is a lovely sponge cake. I'd read out how it's described on here. So a delicate, sweet bread, naturally leavened and oven baked for a unique fragrance and softness, served with icing sugar for a dusting of Christmas sparkle. Yeah, it's really nice sponge cake. So that's the Pandoro. And then a cake that comes from Germany. That I absolutely love this cake. I really love it. It's from 1329. It dates back to 1329. So right back to the 14th century, you've got the German Stollen. So this comes from Saxony, and which is an area of Germany that's obviously part of Germany now, but Germany has only been Germany for, what's that, 180 years, something like that. Just under 200 years. And Saxony was one of the regions of what's now called Germany, and they created the Stollen, which is just a really gorgeous cake. I love it so much. And one of the lovely things about these Christmas-based cakes is that obviously when it gets to the end of October, early November, these things start appearing in the shops. It gets very exciting. So this one's a plain marzipan one. So you've got the sort of the general sort of dried fruits with the sponge, with the marzipan almond kind of taste. So that's your general Stollen. But I've got another one here, which is marzipan and hazelnut Stollen, which is very exciting. Slightly smaller, actually. Ooh, cheeky. But look forward to delving into these over Christmas. I'm filming this just before... Oh, no, we're into Christmas Eve now. So I'm filming this on Christmas Eve. So after I've slept and woken up, I will be cutting into the main Stollen. I think that's going to be my first Christmas cake of the year. It's my favourite. So that's Stollen. But let's talk about mince pies. So mince pies are a huge part of British culture. And as I said, around the end of October, early November, you start seeing them in the shops. And now by the time you get to this point, Christmas Eve, they are everywhere. So all of the supermarkets have got huge stacks, huge towers of mince pies all over the shop. So around the counter till area, but also all over the shop. And we love them. You may occasionally see a British person that doesn't like mince pies, but they are rare and they tend to get hunted down and destroyed. But let's just talk about the mince pie. So where are we? That's the fancy one I was going to talk about. So the all butter mince pie I've got here. So that's what they look like. I'm not going to open it up. I have actually already had a packet of mince pies. So that I ate that over the last week or so. And these deluxe all butter mince pies are all awesome. They're not that expensive either. You can get very buttery mince pies that would be nicknamed deluxe ones for about £1.50, pack of 6, which is awesome. But these are amazing cakes that I absolutely love. So let's talk about the mince pie for a second, and I'll show you these other variations that I have in the house. So the idea of a pie, a British pie, pastry-based food stuff, dates back to 1303. So right back in the first decade of the 14th century, you got the idea of a pie. So, like a load of food encased in a pastry. And the mince pie itself is actually a shortened version of mince meat pie, because the original name for it was a mince meat pie. It's had various names over the years. It's had a mince meat pie, Christmas pie, the shred pie, and the crib cakes, and then the mince pies after that. So there is a reason why these things were called that, so I'll just go over them quickly. So the mince meat pies is just generally a description of the mince meat that was in the pie, and I'll talk about that in a moment. And then you've got shred pies, and that's a reference to the shredded meat that was in the pies. Notice that's not the case anymore, but I'll get to that, as I said, in a second. And crib cakes is kind of an interesting name, because when they were called crib cakes, this was during the Tudor period, they were rectangular in shape, and they had a kind of a little figure of pastry, which was the baby Jesus, as a lid to this rectangular cake. So that's why they were called crib cakes, which is kind of interesting. And actually, since then, ironically, that was a crib cake, and since then, the pastry casing of the mincemeat pie was actually nicknamed the coffin, which is from a crib to a coffin. So there we are. But anyway, yes, the mincemeat pie. Back in the old days, even before the world was black and white, so centuries and centuries ago, in the medieval period, the mincemeat pie had actual meat in it. The mince pie had meat in it. And this goes back to the days of the Crusades. So what used to happen was, once the British people came back from the Crusades, from the Middle East, they'd discovered all these new spices and flavours and fruits and all this from the Middle East, and they brought them back, and they used these things in this new thing called the mincemeat pie. And in those days, in the medieval times, the meat was either lamb or veal. And what would happen was there'd be 13 ingredients, and the idea is a religious connotation because the 13 ingredients represented Jesus and the 12 disciples. And these ingredients would include raisins, prunes, and figs, and also the lamb, that would be the meat part of it, would represent the shepherds from the old nativity story, and also the three wise men were represented by the three spices: cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg. So those were spices that represented the three wise men. And these 13 ingredients were kind of a religious reference that was built into this new cake, the mincemeat pie. So that was what it was like during the medieval period. And by the 18th century, the meat changed from lamb and veal to tongue or tripe. So going away from the lamb or the veal that was true for the medieval and the Tudor period. And then in the 19th century, it became minced beef. So minced beef, which is used now all the time for lasagna and for spaghetti bolognese, all that sort of stuff, and for shepherd's pie and all sorts of different things. Minced beef was used for mincemeat pies. So when did the mince pie stop having meat in it? So it's kind of an interesting one, because you can see the transition if you look at Mrs. Beeton's recipes. So Mrs. Beeton is this sort of classic cook that produced all these books in the 19th century. And in 1861, she produced a book that had lots of mince pies in them. And you can see the change in the culture, because in the original version of that 1861 book, she talks about minced beef being in the pie, in the mince pie. And then when they did a new edition of it, the second edition of it, they took that out when it was just the fruit-based mince pies in the book. So you can see that that's where the transition happened in the late 19th century. And ever since then, mince pies have become a staple part of British culture. And this is your plain butter mince pie. So it's got lots of dried fruit in it and spices and a very sugary top and a very buttery taste in the back pastry. So that's your plain one. And nowadays you get lots of different variations. And you've got some really interesting ones here. I can't wait to tuck into this. Oh, salted caramel crumble mince pies. What? And that crumble texture on the top is exactly my kind of thing. I love biscuits like that. And that's just gorgeous, isn't it? So you've got that crumble texture to this one, which is very exciting. Salted caramel crumble mince pie. And then there's another one here, which is an outrageous one that's just been brought home by my wife. From Mr. Kipling, and this is the 6 winter berry and custard crumble tarts. So a variation on the mince pie idea, but yeah, not called a mince pie, but you can see the variation there. And this is actually a more fancy mince pie here. So a lot of people, me included, I used to do this, not so much now because of the diabetes, but we used to, and lots of people do it now, get loads of mince pies from different shops and do a taste test where they try and figure out what are the best mince pies from whatever supermarket. So is it the Tesco's one? Is it the Iceland one? Is it the, what would it be? Sometimes they're like the Mr. Kipling would have done mince pies as well. There's all sorts of different things there. I think these are from Iceland, I think, these ones. Oh, they're from Lidl's. These are from Lidl's. So, these ones. We buy a lot from Lidl's. So, there we are. Mince pies. Absolutely gorgeous thing for Christmas. One of the things I love about Christmas. So I thought it'd be nice to do this on Christmas Day and to wish you a happy Christmas. Thank you so much for watching the videos. If this is more than your first time and you've watched other videos and commented and we've become friends, then thank you so much. I really value your friendship and I absolutely couldn't be more grateful for the support for the channel. The channel has actually gone leaps and bounds really in the last year, and I really have a few to thank for that. So thank you very much. Let's hope for a really gorgeous 2025. So I will pour some more cider into my glass and wish you all a happy Christmas and a happy, chilled, fulfilling and gorgeous 2025. Stay curious, everybody. Picture of what it's like to be